Yes, people, what's going on? It's Egal Talks Football. We're back again with another video. This is a good little match preview with my guy, TOON Tactics. We're in the building. If you guys don't know, this is TOON Tactics TV. This is TOON Tactics TV. And bro, just introduce everyone to yourself because I'm not sure if you've been on my channel before.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, TOON Tactics TV. I'm Philip. I'm the host of TOON Tactics TV and founder. Been doing this for nearly a year and a bit now. And yeah, really excited to be on here to talk about all things football with you guys.
You're a Newcastle fan, of course.
Yes,
Quick
sir.
question. Let the people know, how did you become a Newcastle fan? Were you introduced via family, location? What was it?
It's a great question. I wasn't born in the UK, so when I flew over essentially and I flicked on the TV, they were the first team I saw play, and I think it was in the Champions League. It's when Henry actually played for Monaco, and Henry scored, and I ended up crying for Newcastle. So my fate was sealed then, and yeah, I've been supporting Newcastle ever since.
That's crazy.
It's
So you never lived in Newcastle. You never had family in Newcastle. You just got attached to it through watching it on the TV. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I actually got attached to Arsenal through the World Cup. I was watching the French national team. I recognized some of the players from the French national team playing for Arsenal, and I had a choice: either go down the Real Madrid route and recognize Zidane, or go down the Arsenal route. And I chose the Arsenal route. Honestly, you didn't have too many Real Madrid games on TV back then. I'll be honest. In Canada, it was more English speaking broadcast, English game. The connection was there. Where Real Madrid, you'd only probably see them in Champions League on occasions. I'm talking 98 in Canada, like very minimal games of football are coming on TV. But yeah, it was an interesting ride. I can tell you for a fact that football for me became a serious sport where I was watching it a lot in the 2000s, but I've been watching football since the 98 World Cup, since I was young.
So was that the Mark Overmars Bergkamp days, or just before
Overmars, Bergkamp, and all of them were there for the first title.
Okay.
And then I missed, and then when I really started focusing was when Henry was there for the next two titles.
Oh right, okay.
Because Arsene Wenger only won 3 titles in my lifetime, and I wasn't old enough to remember anything pre that. Like
right. Good times then.
Good times, good vibes, and in my lifetime, a home game versus Newcastle tends to be a gimme.
All right.
It's tended for like recent years at least. During your previous owner, Newcastle at home would have been 4-3-0. Now this is a different Newcastle. This is the first time where people are expecting you to come to our house and get the win. I'm like, I don't know about that. Last game of the season, fans are going to be up for it. I just don't know. What do you think?
So motivation-wise, should we win? We're in the Champions League, so we have a lot of motivation to put the 100% in everything we're doing. We're definitely not at the beach. I know that we beat Chelsea last week, and that pretty much put us in the very firm control, in terms of qualification. But we need to win to really get ourselves over the line and not have to like wait till last game of the season against Everton. So motivation-wise, we're ready. I also think, and I'm probably going to talk about it in more depth, I think why people might think about Newcastle getting the win. Obviously, we've won 3 in a row so far this season, but I also think that's down to styles make fights. Sometimes, as you know, for any boxing fans that know, sometimes you can have a boxer that might have a better record and you know, more belts than the other guy, but the style of the way the other guy fights is one that essentially is a bit like kryptonite for him. So I think it's a bit of that with Newcastle and Arsenal at the moment.
Kryptonite. I'll just keep it simple. Alexander Isak is the clinical finisher, and he's the guy who's punished us the last couple times we've played. Safe to say, we played you 3 times this season. You've beat us all 3 times. The 2 times in the 2 times in the semifinal of the League Cup, you guys fully deserved it. We didn't turn up at your ground. At our ground, we couldn't finish any of our chances. And really and truly, the difference between the 2 teams was you guys have a striker who scores goals, and we had strikers who missed open nets. That's really what I'll put it down to, because it's been small margins at your ground the first game. Second game at our ground, let's be honest, you guys won 2-0, but I felt like it was still small margins. We could have easily gotten back in the game if we took some of our chances. And then away at your ground was where you blew us out. the next game, where it was like the game was done after the first 2 goals. You could turn off the TV after it was 4-0 on aggregate. You know what I mean? But getting into this game, the reason why I feel like it's going to be different, bro, there's no pressure on us. Season's over. We really, it's the last home game of the season. Usually these are the games where we just turn up and we score 3-4 goals, no pressure. It's not going to hurt us. And at the end of the day, even if you lose to us, you still got the Everton game. You win that, you're in no matter what.
I disagree. I think if you lose, you're in danger of falling further behind, and then you have to win your last game against Southampton. I think what you might be implying in terms of we're more, i.e. Arsenal that have much pressure, therefore we're more relaxed, therefore we'll play better. I think you have to remember in the 3 games that you've played us, it's not just ISAK that's the difference, it's our defence. You haven't scored a goal against us, and so I think there's a lot to be said about that. And in terms of how Arsenal attack, you try to create a box midfield continuously. Arteta's very fixated on creating that box midfield and overloading the centre of the midfield. But the worst thing you can do against Newcastle is have a physical battle in the midfield. Like it's the wrong way to go about things. So I think that's partly why your attack is quite stunted. But it is a home game for yourselves. It depends on what if you feel that the incentive is for Arsenal to attack or to sit back and wait.
The fans a goodbye for the season.
Yeah, but it has to be a successful goodbye, and you're playing against a team that you haven't scored against and have lost repeatedly against. I don't think it's going to be. I think the game you're describing when you're saying we're going to be more relaxed and we usually win these type of games are against teams that are probably on the beach themselves. We have every motivation to win and very little to lose, and we come in very, very good confidence.
So could that be more of a reason why it might end in a draw? Because obviously Arsenal is not going to take this game lightly. It's the last game of the season. You still could technically finish above us if you beat us in this game. You could go above us if I'm not mistaken. Would you not go above us on points?
We would. Yeah, we'll be a point above you.
Yeah, so you'd be a point above us. And then it'd be a situation where Arsenal could maybe finish 3rd or 4th. Now, personally, I couldn't care where we finish. As the thing is, it's about trying to win the league, and we didn't win the league. So at this point, just make sure you're in the Champions League. We didn't win the Champions League either. So it's like we just need to try to focus on the summer transfer window and get the season over with without minimal damage as possible. Champions League is determined based on coefficient. It's not really determined on league position finish. So if you finish 2nd, I think it would do more beneficial to you guys. For example, Eddie Howe taking the team to win a trophy, getting them to finish 2nd. I think he would leave himself very high on that list of managers for the Manager of the Year award, where at Arsenal, people are already putting pressure on Arteta. I don't think finishing 3rd or 4th really matters.
There's a lot in that. I think, in my personal opinion, that Arsenal fans have allowed themselves to be duped by rival fans to believe in that finishing. Well, winning trophies is important, and winning the league is important. So let's get that out of the way. But don't be duped into believing that it doesn't matter where you finish in the league if you don't win something. That's a crazy ideology that people have created. I think finishing as high as you can, in the best form as you can, in the best style as you can, is very, very, very important. And I think Arsenal had been bantered unfairly so, in my opinion. I look at Arteta's first 2 years rebuilding the club. He did that very, very well. In the year where he didn't make it into the Champions League, he wasn't expected to get into the Champions League. And I think he was unfortunate. In the year where he then was pressured to get into the Champions League. Not only did he get into the Champions League, he got himself into a league title run and was unfortunate not to do better. He was bantered for bottling it again, unfairly, in my opinion. Then in the season where they said, okay, let's see if Arsenal are really, really real. Let's see if you can do a title challenge. You did, and you only lost by a point. And again, you were bantered for it. I think that was insane. Now they're just saying, well, it doesn't matter where you finish, and trying to lower your standards to that. So if it was Newcastle in that point of view, I wouldn't listen to what rivals are saying. I think I do think it matters. Not necessarily. your points.
Bro, I have Arsenal fans in my fan base telling me they would rather play in the Champions. They would rather play in the Europa League than the Champions League because it's a better chance of winning. Honestly, some people are just nuts.
Yeah, I think they want to win. I think, but I think that, I think people want to win, and they're tired of being bantered for trying. And I think it depends who's bantering you and to what extent. Like if people like to laugh at the person who's trying, Arsenal are really, really trying to win the title. People are really hoping that they don't win the title. And I just think you just got to focus on yourselves and what you're doing. If someone just says it doesn't matter what league position you finish, they've never been relegated before, like I have. And I can tell you, from being at the bottom half of the table to go now being in the top half of the table, it matters where you finish. And it matters to do things and to improve on things. Absolutely.
Look at where Spurs and Man United are. One of those teams are going to try to tell us they've had a better season than us if they win the Europa League.
Yeah, I think in terms of like who's had the better season, and I'm sure if, for instance, you guys should prepare yourselves. If we finish above you and we win the league, and they're going to start saying Newcastle are better, and this is just for anybody really, whether it's you, Chelsea, whoever.
Regardless, you won the League Cup. Regardless.
Yeah. For me, I'm focused on Newcastle better than Newcastle last year. Are Newcastle better than Newcastle 2 years ago? That's what's important. Me personally as a fan.
That's how you should think.
Yeah. So I'm not focused on what Arsenal do. How I view the success of the progress on my team isn't focused on whether Arsenal or Chelsea or Man United or Bournemouth are doing well. It's just on are we as improving as a team. That's what's important to me.
Fair. Let's talk about this game quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to play your best 11? You're going to go out there with Isak. You're going to go out there with all your heavy hitters, or is there any players missing? I've seen, obviously, you have Botman out. Doubtful. Is he going to play?
I thought he wasn't going to play, but the way Eddie Howe is talking is that there's a possibility that he could play. Joe Linton could play, but it's again doubtful. So I'll probably go with the same-ish team that played against Chelsea. So Pope in goal, Livramento, Burn, Shaw, possibly maybe even Murphy as at right back at this rate. With in the middle Tonali, Bruno, and Barnes, and Gordon and Gordon and Isak. Yeah, that could be the team.
The players for me to watch is, does Partey play? Declan Rice, I think he's out.
Is he really out? Is he for sure out?
Declan Rice is out. He's doubtful because he had a hip issue. Gabriel's already out. Gabriel Jesus is out. Timber is doubtful. Havertz is doubtful. Trossard is doubtful, and that could be the first time he misses a game due to injury in his whole Arsenal career. And then, so it's just like we're finishing the season with a lot of injuries, but I still think we're going to turn out a good team. It could be possible Kai Havertz makes his return from his hamstring injury in this game. Trossard is probably going to play. Mikel Moreno suspended for the rest of the year after the red card versus Liverpool. So he's definitely not going to play. So it's kind of like, I don't know what we're going to do up top. All I know is maybe we could play Ethan, Saka, and Martinelli. Maybe it could be something else. But regardless, Arteta's going to have to find some sort of solution. Our attack has been a problem all season, and we need to go address that, signing a striker in the summer. But yeah, if you guys were to not get Champions League football, best believe Liverpool, Arsenal, Barcelona, everybody would have been coming for Isak. But you now kind of don't have to worry about that because you're almost guaranteed Champions League football if you beat Everton, regardless what happens in this Arsenal game, right?
I don't think Isak staying at Newcastle. It's a contributing factor, but it's not the factor, I think, in terms of whether Isak stays or not.
You think he's leaving? If you do get Champions League football, you think he can still leave?
No, I think he stays. I think he stays regardless.
Okay. Yeah. So say you don't get Champions League football and Arsenal or Liverpool come with 120 million, you're still keeping him?
It's not 150 million. The 150 million is the asking price. So if you got 150 million,
yeah, but everyone puts a high price, and then they slightly lower it to negotiate. So you don't
what's the incentive for our owners to negotiate?
Realistically, you put a high valuation. If someone comes close to it, you're gonna listen.
No. So Isak is one of the best strikers in Europe. and you're not going to get another ISAK unless you can find one in Europe somewhere. You're not going to get one.
You could go and get a Ekitike or a Sesko.
So why don't you go get one? You go. No,
I'm saying you guys could go and get him, and then use that money. You could use that money to reinvest into the squad, because I don't know.
You guys can do that. We keep ISAK. I think that's
sometimes selling an asset at its peak allows you to reinvest into the squad, because I don't think necessarily ISAK is easily replaceable, but you could replace him in the means by going and getting another quality right winger. Like, look, you're linked to Mbeumo and you're linked to all these other players. You're telling me if you sold ISAK for 150 million, you couldn't get 5 game changers for 50 million? I mean, 3 game changers.
But then I'll reverse that and just say to Arsenal, why don't you go and do the same thing? Like, there isn't an incentive for us to do that. We're a mature club.
I'm looking at Gyökeres. I personally, I'll keep it 100 with you. I don't think ISAK is leaving Newcastle, and I don't think Arsenal is going to get ISAK, even if he was leaving Newcastle, because 120 million is probably max Arsenal will be willing to pay, and even then, that's a stretch. I think we're better off getting Gyökeres and trying to go get Rodrigo. If we can get those 2 players, it makes a big difference, and it's probably around the same 150 mark for the 2 of them combined. Where for you, ISAK, he's a wonderful player. Everybody likes him. I would love him at Arsenal. We missed that boat. It's over. Similar to Bruno, we missed that boat. We had the chance to get Bruno. We missed out on it. So ISAK's not going to happen. Arsenal need to shift their gears. Liverpool, they don't have the money like that to try to prize ISAK away from Newcastle. The only team that I think could turn his head is maybe in a year or 2 time if somebody else comes in for him then. But yeah, any of the big clubs come in, I think Newcastle tell him run up. I think Newcastle have the ambition to try to challenge for the league in a year or 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The owners have been saying it for a while in terms of having ambition for Newcastle to be number 1. I think they've done everything to show that they have, and even in our infrastructure, in the performance director and the sporting director that we've got, and as well as obviously the funding that we've put in. We know that the only reason we haven't bought new players in the last first team players in the last 18 months is because of PSR. Should that not have been a factor, would have had more players. But yeah, we're showing a lot of ambition in the wages that we're giving to players, but also in the places that we're going to. So yeah, it's very, very exciting times to be a Newcastle fan. Absolutely.
So do you think you beat us on the weekend?
Yes.
What do you think the score is going to be?
2-0.
Do you think you're coming to the Emirates, bopping us for 2-0 again?
Yes.
Okay. Just to let you know, I'm going to the game. and I've never witnessed us lose in regular time. I've only seen us lose on penalties to Sporting. Besides that, every game I've been to, we've either won or we've lost that one game on penalties.
Are you saying you're the crucial factor for Arsenal's victories? Is that
no? I'm just saying I need to go to more games, maybe, or we might win more games. But,
you might be the treble winners.
I'm like, bro, it's a crazy record. I don't know how many people can say they've gone 8 games and they've gone 8 to 10 games and they've never lost. Like, that's how many games I've been to. I can't anywhere between 8 to 10. I can't remember. I've been to some big games too. Like, one of my first biggest games was the North London Derby. I've gone to 2 games versus Manchester United. I've gone to a game. I've gone to games versus a lot of teams lower down the table. But majority of my games have been against Leicester when they were decent. Like, I've been to some good games and I've witnessed all these wins. That Brentford game where Kai Havertz scored the winner a couple of years ago. I was at the game where Jesus made Dalot slide and Rice scored his first goal. I was there when Saka dunked on Ronaldo's parade after he equalized. It was. I've seen a lot of games, man.
So where do you think your goals are coming from against us?
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna have to be Saka and Martinelli doing the magic. That's what it's gonna have to be. And we're gonna have to get our goals from the wings, and our striker is just gonna have to preoccupy the area. Maybe Kai Havertz is back. There's rumors that Kai Havertz could be back for this game. We don't really know. We're gonna have to wait and see. He has miraculously recovered from a hamstring injury quicker than anybody else in the squad. So we'll see what happens there. But hey, we're gonna be playing each other in a friendly also in June. So
yes,
in July. So that's gonna be interesting. That's going to be another opportunity where we meet up in preseason to see what's going on. But I'll tell you this, man, you guys are building a really good squad. Do you think Anthony Gordon, Bruno G, or Isak, any of them leave this summer?
No, in fact, there's talk that Bruno's getting his contract renewed. Gordon, there's no rumors about Gordon leaving Isak. Obviously, there's always rumors around Isak, but I think it's more likely that he stays. Like, the team's in a very good spot. I think if I'm a player at Newcastle, I'm just very keen to see who Newcastle bring in to see how, you know, are the owners everything that they say they are going to be. So I think that we will be bringing good players to the team as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a disdain for Arsenal, like some of these other rivals, or you're kind of like, I don't really mind Arsenal?
Disdain in what sense?
Because Chelsea, Spurs, Man United, they all have like this dislike for Arsenal. Do you have that same dislike for Arsenal, or is it kind of like you just don't mind Arsenal as a Newcastle fan?
The only teams, to be honest, the only teams, I don't know if it's disdain, but I see like rivals is the team that I'm playing next. So it could be Arsenal. It's Arsenal this week. Last week it was Chelsea. The week before that was, you know, whoever we played. It's a rivalry.
But you guys have a disdain for Man United. You have a disdain for your rival Sunderland.
I don't have a personal disdain for Man United.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe the only thing I have is the demon they have on their badge. I think they need to take care of that. But otherwise, I don't have like a visible disdain. I think I have to be, especially when we're doing maybe it's to do with the content creating stuff, and I want to be, I have to fight. I'm fighting for objectivity as I can. Like I said, I think there's a bit of Arsenal derangement syndrome sometimes amongst even really Arsenal fans, to be honest. Like, it's a bit mad, like how I feel like if you're not careful, you're going to talk your way out of the position that you're in, which is which is still like one of the main title contenders.
Bro, some people would rather us finishing 5th and win the League Cup every year than be challenging for the league and not win it.
That means they haven't seen enough downtimes and losses. I can only that's the only thing about that.
Or they're so desperate for anything that they'll take the second or third rate trophies over the main. One guy told me he values the League Cup. He would take 2 League Cups over 1 Champions League any day of the week because it's 2 trophies.
I think the main thing is to win trophies. And I think if you want to be
but the value matters, right?
I think what matters is sustainable cup wins and winning and building a team that's so like Arsenal, like the Arsenal I grew up knowing is an Arsenal that's is winning something during the season, whether it's a league title, a double title, FA Cup and Premier League. I think you have to build your squad as how I think Eddie Howe and the owners are talking from my Newcastle perspective is that we're competing for everything. Premier League, if we're in the Champions League, we'll either compete for the Champions League, we're competing for it all. That's how you build a team. I don't sense that from Arteta. I feel like he has a view that maybe some people have is, oh, it's only the League Cup. But now the League Cup is very, very important because it means at least you've won trophies and you're building on something and you can see the momentum that it gives you. I think Arsenal fans at the start of the season, a lot of them set themselves up for failure when they said, if it's not Champions League or Premier League, it's a failure and Arteta needs to go out. You've set yourselves up for a Premier League title that you haven't won in 20 years and the Champions League title that you've never won. Now, I'm not saying don't have high views, but I'm saying isn't it better to say, I want to see us compete for everything and then see where we get to rather than these 2 major trophies or it's all lost. And I think Arteta has that view and it's costing him at the moment.
Bro, I think you're spot on. And when it comes to my own fan base, I fight with them all the time. Exactly what you just said. And at this point, I just need to see Arsenal go into the transfer window and show the investment needed to get us over the line. And that would be the striker, that would be a left winger, that would be a midfielder, and hopefully we can go from there. And all this Arteta talk and all these other things can go to bed because the moment we win something of note, people won't care about the manager. But you know something? He can only be given so much time. If we don't win this year, then maybe it's going to be time to go. But I don't want to think about that. I just want to think about investment and improvement before we get to manager talk once again, because he's not going nowhere. right now.
What would
Same
be
with Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
I heard Eddie Howe conversations in December. Now that he's won a trophy and he has Newcastle in the Champions League, and again, no one's going to hear shit about the December form.
I think there was talk about from some Newcastle fans. I think it was a very small minority, and I personally think sometimes, especially when I watch certain Newcastle fans on social media, they're trying to replicate what
AFTV.
Right, yeah, AFTV and what you guys are doing because they think it's cool, rather than what the team is and where we're at. Like I think that's really sad to see. Honestly, it's really really sad to see, and they're it's not supporting the team. I've seen fans rip into the team in front of rival fans, even if we are playing badly. But it's like they're trying to impress rival fans about, yeah, we've got the same standards.
Hey, maybe that's how they talk, bro. At the end of the day, you're very objective. You're very mellow. I don't think I would ever see you coming after a game yelling and cussing your players because you need those players. You need those players to turn up the next week. But some people, that's how they are. They're like, it's a love-hate relationship with how they speak about their sport. I'm never gonna tell somebody how to speak about their sport or how they think, but it's just very different depending on where you grew up and how you interact with it. Like there's people who are very rational, there's people who are very emotional, there's people who are very reactionary, and then there's people who are a little bit of everything. And honestly, you never know what you're gonna get until you see it on a regular basis, fully emotional, camera in their face, somebody hits the right buttons, and then boom, they explode. I'm pretty sure you probably lost your cool on somebody in the past about a football argument. It's just somebody didn't have a camera in your face about it.
True.
But hey, that's what I was gonna say. Anyways, before we wrap up, we're gonna have to wrap it up. So I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Arsenal victory. I think we don't keep a clean sheet. You guys do score, but we come through with the win at the end. It's not gonna be the routine 3-4 5-0 on the final day of the season this time, but we do still have the Southampton game to maybe end the season with a bang. As for where we finish in the league, I do think we still get second. We get the win, and worst case scenario, I could see it being a draw. I don't see a situation where you come to our ground on the final day of the season and end our season at home in a bad way. I could actually see a worst case scenario where we beat you, and you end up having to squeak out a win versus Everton to get Champions League football. That's more likely, in my opinion. And hey, I remember what you guys did to us, ending our season in the against Tottenham that year. So maybe we can return the favor after you messed with us. That All or Nothing documentary, you must have loved it because Newcastle was like one of the main parts of the documentary.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. I think they was a bit more focused on the owners than the team, but it was good. It was good to see a documentary on Newcastle in a positive way.
Hey, the owners were the ones that orchestrated it. It's an American company.
True.
And they've already done baseball side of things. I mean, basketball. They've already done the NFL side of things, so they kind of understand how Hard Knocks works. So yeah, that's pretty much where they got the idea from. But I think they should do more of that. I like that. Like,
yes.
I know Man City did it. I know Arsenal did it. But you know the thing is, it's not entertaining to watch when the team's winning. Like you don't really want to watch it as a rival when Man City's winning a treble or winning a league.
Right. You want to see the struggle.
You kind of want to watch the struggle. Like I like Leeds' version of it.
Right.
Than the Newcastle version.
Right.
I mean, you guys should have one. You guys should do an All or Nothing. That would be entertaining. I think a lot of people
one.
No, because you guys haven't done it since.
Oh, another one you mean? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you guys haven't done one since you. What was it? You guys were trying to stay up that time, or you came up?
We finished in the Champions League spot that season.
What year was that?
That was 2 years ago now. So what, 22, 23?
Yeah, that was a good year for you guys to do that.
Yeah.
But this year would have been magical with the trophy and Bruno.
It would have been crazy. Absolutely.
You know what? Regardless what anybody tells you, you guys have had a good season. Regardless what anybody tells me, I'm happy with the boys, and I'm disappointed we didn't win the trophies. But hey, we're gonna kick on. Hopefully, we can go again next year. And as shameless as people think that is, that's the only way you can think as a fan. If you don't win now, you have to kick on and say we can do it maybe next year. And all these people who want to put down Arsenal, let them put us down. But if you beat us on Sunday, boy, it could be a long summer for me.
It won't be that bad. Like, don't take it as a loss, just take it as a lesson.
Nah, we're not losing. We're not losing. Anyways, we're gonna end it up there. Big up, Toon. Have a good one, guys. Go check out his channel. As I said earlier, that's his channel name right there, TOON TACTICS TV. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Love for the love. If you're watched up to this point, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about the upcoming game, and do you think Isak will be at Newcastle in 2 years' time? Let me know. We're out of here, people. Catch you guys later. Peace.